Hi guys, today we are going to look at functions and relationships, and that's really your introduction to algebra. So it's really important that you have a good grasp of these concepts. So first of all, obviously, as you know, in algebra we use numbers and letters to represent different values, but we'll get to that. So the first thing you need to learn today is this is an equation, because it is a mathematical statement, which means it uses plus and minus and divide, but we'll get to that, and it has an equal sign. That means it's an equation. Now, when we use algebra, the obvious one that we always will use is a variable. Now, as the name suggests, it means the value can change. So in this case, the variable is the x, because sometimes the x will be worth 5, sometimes the x will be worth a half. You don't know. That's what you generally have to work out, what the value of the variable is. Now, if we look at the equation, it says 7 plus 3x is 16, which means, let's start at the beginning. You know that if two numbers are directly next to each other with nothing in between, it's like there's a times sign in between. So that means something times 3 plus 7 must give me 16. So if we take 3 times 3, which is 9, plus the 7, that will give me 16. So in this case, x is worth 3. But in another sum, x could be worth 5. So if something varies, it means it changes. So in this equation, the variable is x. It'll generally always be an alphabetical letter to represent a different value. It could be a B, an L. We stay away from L and B because we generally use that in geometry, but you could use it. A constant, if something is constant, it means it's always like that. So the first day of the month is always the 1st. My birthday is always on the 26th of August. It's a constant. It never changes. So if you look at the equation, there are two constants here. 7 will always be 7. If you add a 1 in front, it's not 7, it's 17. 7 will always be 7, and 16 will always be 16. It will never change. So those are constants in this equation. So it'll be the 7 and it'll be the 16. Now, a coefficient is very important. That is the number that's being multiplied by your variable. Now remember, if there's nothing in between, it's like there's a times. So this is 3 times something. We have to work out what that something is. So another way to remember it is it's the number that's attached to your variable. But remember, because there's nothing in between, it's a times. So a coefficient here will be the 3 because it's attached to the x. So let's just recap on that. A variable is something that changes value depending on the sum. It is a letter, x, y, z, and so forth. A constant is something that will always be true. So in this case, 7 will always be worth 7 and 16 will always be worth 16. A coefficient is the number that's multiplied with our coefficient. So in other words, the one that is attached to your coefficient.